One of the most fascinating results from the survey of over 6,000 firearms carriers that we recently did is the very small number of people who carry a less lethal tool on them to deal with non-deadly threats. I think that's a huge mistake, and today I want to talk to you about my very favorite, pepper sprays. Let's talk about it. First of all, I want to talk about why it's important to carry a less lethal tool on you. And for me, it's pretty simple. About 80% of assaults in America every year are simple assaults. They don't rise to the level of aggravated assault, attempted murder, or murder, where a firearm would be a useful tool. And having something between your hands and your firearm is incredibly significant. Now, I gotta tell you, most Americans don't have significant empty-handed skills training. I do. I train all the time in martial arts, but most people don't. If you do, well, maybe you may not need that, but I do. As somebody who's trained for 11 years, I carry a pepper spray on me every day and everywhere I go, and I think it's a useful tool to have. Perhaps the coolest part of having a pepper spray is the fact that the threshold of use is so much less than using a firearm. Of course, a firearm is only an effective tool against an objective, reasonable, deadly threat. Well, a pepper spray is not for a deadly threat, it's for a physical threat. So the threshold of use is significantly lower. Now, you can't just pepper spray anybody you want. You gotta have an objective, reasonable evidence that they were an imminent threat of physical harm to you and to your loved ones. However, if you have an objective, reasonable threat of not of deadly force, but of physical force, then you can stop that threat preemptively even with a pepper spray as long as you have that good, objective, reasonable evidence. Now, OC sprays are not completely effective on everybody. Nothing's completely effective on everybody. And OC spray is effective on, 85 to 90% of people. A few people will not be affected by the pepper spray. So if you give somebody the old spicy treats and then they just get angry, they're like, tasty, spicy, you got problems, you better know how to handle it from there. Just like every other tool though, we gotta think a little bit here about the terminology that we use and what we are talking about. You hear people call it pepper spray or OC spray when you get into the more technical communities. You also hear people talk about mace or they talk about tear gas, and these are different things. Now, pepper spray and OC spray, those are two ways to say the same thing. However, Mace is a brand name who does now make pepper sprays, but there used to be a very particular formulation, a different chemical irritant that was called mace, so I don't tend to use that term. Now, you will see some that will combine the OC or the pepper spray with some types of gas, whether CN or CS gas. But I just want to talk about pepper sprays today because they're the most common and they're what I actually recommend that most people carry. Just like anything else in the American market, there's money to be made here, so there's a lot of marketing that goes on in trying to get people to carry their particular sprays because people want to sell you their sprays. Do not believe the marketing hype. I think there are primarily two ways that people get marketed pepper spray that are just utter crap. The first one is, oh look, our spray is cute. Now, mostly that's done for women in women's self-defense classes and by multi-levels that sell things to women that want them to buy their cute stuff because it's rhinestone studded or it's pink, God help us all, or things like that that don't actually contribute to its usefulness, but they help women feel like, oh, this is girly and so I can carry it. Ladies, please do not respond to their marketing gimmicks by giving them dollars because that perpetuates the myth that that's what you want. The other marketing ploy is to tell you that theirs is stronger because it has a higher percentage of OC. So if you start asking what makes an OC spray effective, what you don't want to look at is OC percentage because that just tells you how much of the juice in the can is the actual, oleoresin capsicum. And that doesn't matter. It's really about how much major capsaicinoids are inside that canister. The percentage of the major capsaicinoids are really what determines how strong something is and how strong a pepper spray is in particular. So human ones that are built for people are anywhere from like 0.18% up to about 1.3% major capsaicinoids. The ones that are marketed as bear sprays go from anywhere from 1.0 major capsaicinoids percentage up to 2.0, with the most ones for people that I see, the one that I trust so much is this Saber Red that runs at 1.33% major capsaicinoids. So don't buy a pepper spray based on the bling on the outside. Don't buy a pepper spray based on a company saying this has the highest percentage of OC in the can. Instead, look past that to the major capsaicinoids, and can you guarantee that it's good inside that bottle and that the batch is consistent and useful. There are only two that I would trust completely. Number one is the Sabre company and their Sabre Red formulation in particular, and the other one is Fox Labs and their Fox Labs 5.3 formulation. I particularly and personally like the Sabre Red. It's filthy, nasty stuff, but the Fox Labs is just fine if you want to go that route. Just like anything else though, I can't encourage you enough that if you're gonna carry a tool, you gotta train how to use it. Even something as simple as a pepper spray needs to be trained with. So go to a class, go to somebody who is a certified instructor, and it only takes a couple of hours to really learn. And in this instance, you can see I actually have what we call an inner trainer unit here that you can get these as well. They're not very expensive and they can show you here. You just, use it just like you normally would. And there you go. Now you've got some training with your tool. This one's a smaller formulation that I have carried in the past. It's got a different actuator that you slide over and then press. It also came with a keychain attachment, but I took that off and just kept it in my pocket. However, I do like this larger one now because it has a flip top on it. And so when you get it out of your pocket, you drive it forward and you use it effectively that way. That's the easiest way that I know of to get it out, get it in the fight and use it. One of the things I love about having a pepper spray as opposed to the TASER that I talked about a little while ago is relative cost. This guy here only costs about 20 bucks as opposed to a TASER which is over 300. It also doesn't take up that much real estate space. Even this big one, which is a Mark 6 dispenser, doesn't take up a whole lot of space. I just stick it on my pocket. It's got a little pocket clip on it and then it just lives where it lives. So I really do like having a pepper spray on me even in places that I cannot have a firearm. Now, of course, you want to watch all your local laws. There are several states that pepper spray use is regulated or prohibited, so you got to check your local laws and make sure that you're not breaking them when you're trying to use an OC spray. Now, the thing with pepper spray when you go to training that you're going to see is the range on a good pepper spray, a handheld one like the one I'm carrying in my pocket, is anywhere from about 3 to about 12 to 15 feet, 15 feet being about the max. Get past about 5 yards and they're going to start getting blown around too much, or they're just not going to have enough oomph to get to the bad guy. So it is a close-in tool. There are some myths about that as well. People say, oh, well, you're going to get some on you. If you use a fogger or if you use a cone, that's a little bit more likely. The streams are pretty good, as are the gels, to get out and get on the bad guy. And the streams that they make today, I mean, it takes a really significant wind, somewhere north of 20, 25 miles an hour, before it starts affecting the spray any. That said, you should know what an effect it causes on you personally if you are going to get sprayed, if you get some exposure. Now, you're not a law enforcement officer probably. If you are a cop, you've been exposed and you know that when you spray somebody, you're going to have to go hands-on with them anyways. But if you're not a cop, you're going to hose somebody down, give them the spicy treat dispenser, and then you're going to get the heck out of there, so your chances of being exposed are less. However, make sure that if you have a respiratory disease or you're an asthmatic or you got something that would prohibit you from being exposed to oleoresin capsicum, stay away from this stuff. That's the one thing it's not for. Had a lot of people ask me about whether pepper spray is effective on dogs. And there's some discussion both ways on that, okay? Again, you gotta check your local laws. I can tell you from a personal perspective, I've actually used my pepper spray twice on dogs in the, 8 years that I've been carrying it, give or take. And both times has been very effective. I don't know if that was necessarily because the dog felt the spray or just saw the spray coming towards him and was like, nope, I'm out of here. At any rate, I have sprayed 2 dogs, got them both in the face, and they both scampered off and I didn't have any more problems. So from my anecdotal personal evidence, I think it does work, but my guess is it's probably about the same as people, and you're gonna have some dogs that aren't affected, maybe, I don't know a percentage, but some, I would guess smaller percentage that won't be affected, so be aware of that. I really think a pepper spray in the hands of a self-defender is an incredibly useful tool. I carry one every day, and I do highly recommend that anybody that carries a firearm have a less lethal tool. An OC spray is the most cost-effective, easiest to carry, less lethal tool that I have found. And so I really recommend that for an everyday carry. Don't get me wrong, I like the TASER. I just don't think that the TASER, for most people who are concealed carriers, is going to be the tool that you would choose because it's expensive and it's larger. This is smaller. This is about the biggest one that you can have. It's cheaper, it's easier to learn how to use, and it's very effective at ending physical threats. I really like these. But seriously, guys, I think for the cost, for how easy they are to carry, for how easy they are to use, and the fact that this provides you the ability to stop a threat before it becomes a physical threat, that's helpful, and I would really recommend carrying a pepper spray.